Hey, it's another day. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for coming to watch again. I appreciate it very much. My back is much better, and today we're going to get back on the nightmare. So this thing has been a pain since it got here. I don't know how else to put it. Everywhere I dug into it, the worse it was, and the worse it got. So but I'm on the last leg of it. I got the driver's side quarter panel, the trunk floor, and the trunk floor supports that I discovered when I was doing the tail pan. So I got to do those, and then I have two spots in the rear floorboard under where the rear seat goes that I got to patch. So I don't think there's a panel on this car that I haven't touched. I started working on this before I started the YouTube channel, so I'd already done the doors and the fenders. I got him a new hood, and I think the trunk lid is okay, if I remember right. I keep my fingers crossed because it's been a while now, so I don't know. I have to go get the trunk lid and try and figure that out. But everything else on this car I have touched. Lower cowl, upper cowl, floorboards, the roof, quarter panels, rockers, around the rear glass, tail pan, trunk floor is gonna need it. So with that being said, we're gonna get back on this thing. Let's go take a look at exactly what we got. I'll show you about Swiss cheese. Now on the other side, when I did the other side, I remembered that under this joint right here where there was lead, that it had some problems. And this side also, not as bad as the other side, if I remember right, but it still got where I got to patch it right here. Now right here it's got some brazing, and so I'm gonna have to grind that out, because when you weld, try and weld and you hit that, it's not gonna be pretty. So but you can see all of this is Swiss cheese. All of this is Swiss cheese. And like on the other side in here, it looked like rust, but actually this is where they welded the body molding holes up. So I'm going to touch these up and rework those and clean those up. So but then you get back here and it's pretty bad, and this side is worse than the other side. It comes back to here on this body line right here. So, and then when you get into here, it's going to take some repairs there, and the inner fender well on this lip is going to need some fixing also. So you can see there's, so, and when you come to the back, same thing, stick my finger up through there. I'm going to have to fix the inner on this, and then like I said, this was all filled with Bondo. As you can see, there's Bondo down here. I'm going to cut this whole panel out down here and redo it. So like I said, I thought this was rust, but it's not. It's where they welded the holes up. So I'll touch those up. Now right here may be a little problem with some rust, but we're going to check it out and see. So the game plan for today is, I usually like to start with the hardest part first. So I think what I'm going to end up doing first is this area right here is going to be the hardest part. It was the hardest part on the other side. You know, all this down here is flat panel. I mean, it's got a little bit of a curve to it, but it's mostly just a flat area. So this is just cutting and putting a panel in, bending a 90 in it if I need it.
but this gets to be pretty rough through here because it's curved this way and it's got this body line contour that swoops back that way and all that. So like I did on the other side, I think I'm going to bend a flange, just bend a 90 in a piece of sheet metal, and from here down to probably where this body line comes in right here, I'll take that flange, put it in a shrinker stretcher, and curve it around, and then I'll come back and work this area. I'm going to check as much of this out, and I'm going to leave as much metal of the original as I can, and then I'll patch what I need to patch in there. So like I said, that kind of curves. It curves this way and then it curves around, so I got to figure out how much of this I'm going to have to replace. Hopefully not too much. Hopefully it's all, most of it's in this area right here, so, and not too much up here. But when we dig into it, we'll figure it out. And the usual thing is, when I dig into it, it's way worse than what it looks on the outside. So with that said, I'm gonna hop to it. So I'm gonna get on this part first. So hardest first, and then we'll work our way to the rest of it. So stick around. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for watching. Okay, I went and cut me a piece, made me a flange, and now I'm going to use a shrinker stretcher and make this curve like that. And I went a little bit past this rust spot right here because there's a brown spot right there, and I think it's rusted right there too. It just didn't come through when I put my wire wheel on it. So to be safe, I'm going to come back here past that with that. I'll start this down here, and I want to make it even with the bottom of this body line and start bending it around. Now what you got to remember is this curves around like that, but it also curves in like that. So we'll go start shrinking and stretching and seeing what we can come up with. So here we go. Alright, got that fitting pretty good. I got enough material that I can trim this and get my body line right. This will raise up just a little bit. I'll have to trim this down because when I cut this edge, when I cut this out, remember it allows it to move up. So when it moves up, I'm going to have a lot of extra material on this outside edge, and then I'll have to trim it down to make it fit. And because this is a 1/2 inch body line, so I have to trim that down to make a 1/2 inch body line to go all the way around. But I cut it a little fat so that I could work it down as I needed. So, but I got that piece fitting pretty good. I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to work on this piece right here and see if I can get that laid in there flat like it needs to be. Basically from this corner right here to up here. I think I'm going to try and do a piece, because I know what's fixing to happen. When I cut this out, the inner wheel well, I can see lots of rust under there, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to cut out the inner wheel well and patch it once I get all this on. I can feel a bunch of rust and all of that too, so how much I'm going to have to patch, I don't know. We'll see once I cut all this out and how far back. I don't think the wheel well is bad back here, but part of it is bad right here. So probably from here to down, well, probably all the way to the bottom down here, I'm going to have to patch that inner wheel well. So next up is doing this. So I'm going to go cut a piece of metal, measure this and cut a piece of metal, and see if we can form it up. So stick around with me, guys. Alright guys, here's what I got. Let me get this glove off. I didn't record making this because it took me forever to make this little piece. And I remembered when I did the other side that I had all kinds of problems trying to get this made. So just so you know, making this, I used my shrinker, stretcher, my planche and hammer, and my English wheel, and my bead roller, just to get this thing to fit like it's supposed to. So as you can see, it's gonna fit like that. It lays in there real tight, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted it to lay in there as tight as it could. And you got to remember, when I cut the metal out, it's going to sink in. So I'll be able to scribe that out and cut it and lay it in there. So that's that piece and this piece. I think I am going to go ahead and fabricate this corner section right here real quick. This body line, maybe down to here. And down here on the bottom, I don't know if you can see that down there on the bottom, somebody tried to patch that. They welded a little round or a little oblong patch in here, but all the rest of it Swiss cheese all the way down there, so I don't know why they didn't try and patch all of it. I don't know, they covered it all in Bondo. If you can see, all of this stuff in here is Bondo. So it's got a bunch of Bondo in it everywhere. So, but I'm gonna try and make this little piece. I'll lay this in there, maybe put my magnets on it to hold it in place. But I'll lay this in there. I don't know. I may be able to trim some more of this down before I put it in there, but I'm gonna lay it in there, put a magnet on it or clamp or something, and hold it in place. And then I'll make this piece right here. I may make that all the way down to there. I got to see Bondo right there, but I don't know if it's just from where they filled it. I may come from down here all the way up and make that piece right there, and where to be fitting before I cut all this out. Then I'll have my puzzle pieces made for this section right here. And I'm still gonna have to make a little piece right here. I tried to make this longer to cover that, but I had so much trouble with the different, if you can see this piece, what it does, plus it's curved, and it makes all kinds of twists and turns and all kinds of stuff. So me trying to get it to contour properly and to come all the way back here, I just couldn't get it all done in one piece. So I shortened the piece up to try and make this piece
And then this little section right here won't be that hard. I'll just cut me a little piece and make that fit. So so now let's make this little piece right here. Let me see what that looks like under there. All that's pretty solid except for the one little spot down there. Alright, well, I think I'll play it safe and cut up. I'll take a little section of that to make that, and it'll come here. So I may make that in 2 pieces. Probably be the best thing to do. I think what I'll need to do is make this piece from here to here so I can make that body line. So I keep that straight body line right there. Bend it in my brake to make that. So let me get a little piece. Let's see. I have a little piece of scrap right here. Let me go cut this and get this started real quick. So stick with me. Alright, what I've done is I clamped the first piece that I made in place, kinda clamped the second piece in here, and then I took a little piece of scrap, and what I did is I marked, this is 5/8, this body line is 5/8 inches wide, so I marked 5/8 inches, gave me a little overhang to cover the rust spot that I'm gonna have to cut out. And then, as you can see, this piece curves down, so I have to trim it up. So I'm gonna mark it on the back side, or I need to trim it off back there, and then I'm gonna have to notch it in here. So, and I'm not gonna notch it completely out. I'm gonna mark it where I need to cut it, because that's gonna lay in, so I don't need to cut as much out. But I'm gonna notch it where I can fit this all in together. And I need to get this stuff out of my way. But I gotta cut this back to stay right on that body line. So I need to cut that. So this is where I'm going to trim fit everything together. That way when I go to cut all these parts out, I'll know everything's in the right shape to get it back in place. And it's probably not going to be perfect. None of my stuff is ever perfect. But it'll make it where it just needs a little skim coat to clean it up and make it look like it's exactly like it's supposed to. So let me get this out of here. Alright. Cut this back a little bit. Like I said, I'm not going to cut it all the way. First. Body line mark. Angle intact. Let's see. That gets that right there. in place again. Yeah. What did I did? Okay, I cut that wrong. I wasn't supposed to cut this section out. I'm a dummy. So now I'm gonna have to trim. Well, I made enough to where I can trim that back. So trim it back to right there. Alright. Not thinking about what I'm doing. And I screwed it up. Let's do this over. Right on the body line. Looks good right there. Right there, right there. So I need to cut that back. Marker. Right there. Now, cut this back again. See what kind of fitment we got right there. There we go, huh? Okay. Alright, now I gotta cut this. Get that off. Okay, cut that off, and then it needs to arch a little bit. Let's see if I can do this without anything but my thumbs, huh? Maybe. Let me trim at it just a little bit at a time. Yeah, a little bit too long. Still a little too long. A little bit more off. Getting closer. Still a little too long. I'm trying to curve this end up just a little bit because it curves out where it meets this. Almost it. It needs to turn just a little bit more. Let's see. Still just a tad too long. Let's see how that looks. Fit just like that. There we go. That's pretty darn close right there. That's pretty close right there. Alright, hammer that just a little bit when I go to weld it in. I think it needs to bend up here. There we go. There we go. That's more better. That's way more better. Alright. I'll leave that long on this edge. So, alright. I'll have to adjust some of that a little bit. Fit that when I go to welding everything in. Right on that body line right there. All right. Well, there's my puzzle pieces. I'll have to adjust this just a little bit more when I get everything lined, start welding in. Alright. I told you this was the hardest part, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to rough outline this real quick. I'm not cutting on the line. Do a rough outline on that. Put all my pieces to the side. Alright. Now what I got left is the outline for those patch pieces. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my cutoff wheel, I'm going to come below this, I'm going to cut this out, cut below that line and inside that line, pull all this out and see what it looks from behind. So bear with me on it. I'll back my camera up so I don't hopefully damage my camera. Well, that actually looks better than I thought it was gonna. Okay, let's see what we get out of here. Trying to figure out how to go after this. Well, there's the inside lip of the inner wheel well. Lip's gonna be bad all the way back to there, looks like. Wow. I guess they tried to weld that with a wire welder. Weld the holes up. That's ugly. That's why I can't get that off of there, because it's all booger welded together. That's what they did. You can see the wire weld all the way back to there. So they booger welded it together to fill the holes, and then they bondoed right over the top of it. So, all the way down to the bottom down there. might as well cut the bottom of that down there. Alrighty then. See how much of this I got to cut out. I know I'm going to make this patch. And I think maybe that's solid enough I can drill the spot welds out. But it's bad there, so to at least right here, I got to redo that lip. But past the rust point, all of this is good. Back up in there, so I'm gonna have to notch this out to get to that part of the wheel well. Alrighty, well, as I always say, with the nightmare, when you dig into it, the worse it is than you expect. So I've got to expect the worst, and it's about what I expected. If I'm lucky, I won't have to go all the way back here. If I'm lucky, about right there, I can stop. So, yeah, above that rust line, it's good metal. So I'm gonna clean all that up. What can I say? It is what it is. So now I'm gonna get my wire wheel. I'm gonna clean all this up in here. I'm gonna drill these spot welds out. Y'all don't need to sit there and watch all that crap. And so I'll come back when I get all this cleaned up, and we'll see. I may have to cut this back. I don't know. I was hoping to patch this and then patch this whole piece, and then what little bit of patch I got right here to do, and then I could patch that last. So this is probably gonna be one video, and then I'll do this, and then maybe that back there, or maybe I can do this and that together. I don't know, but this is gonna take some time. So, but thank you for coming back. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you hit that like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff, ring the bell, whatever, I would really appreciate it. So thank you guys for coming back and watching, and stick around. I'll get this cleaned up and we'll see where we're gonna be at. So thank you again. Okay, while you were away, I cleaned all of this up. I had to trim back a little further. I had to trim this part of the quarter panel back just a little bit further, so I could get all the rusted areas, so I could get to it to cut it out and to weld it in. So I cleaned all this up. I fabbed up the it's the edge to the outer wheelhouse behind the quarter panel. So I fabricated it up real quick. What I'm gonna do, you can see it fits in here, right here, like so. I'm gonna weld this in and grind it down and treat all of this, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like when I get it in there. And what I've done is I'm only down to right here to this body line, because that, let me see, I don't know if you can see it. At this point where the body line comes here, this part of the wheel well changes. It dips in real hard, comes down, and it curves around. So I'm putting this part in to where this body line comes to the corner. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and weld the patches in for this piece and this piece for the arch part. And I may go ahead and weld all those 3 patches in, and then I'll work on this down here on the bottom. So let me go weld this in real quick. I'll weld it in, grind it down, and I'm going to treat it all and probably paint it. And that way it'll protect it. And I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's done. So stick around with me. Okay, here's where we're at. Let me show you real quick. I got it welded in, ground it down, and I didn't grind it perfectly smooth because I want as much weld in there as I can for the strength of the panel. And it's a little dirty because I was grinding and cleaning a little bit, trying to get ready to start welding this other stuff in. So now what the game plan is I have this fitted and ready, trimmed up, ready, all my spot weld holes ready to go. Okay, so that's going to fit in there. I got to finish fitting this piece to go right here. I'm going to weld it in, make sure my body line's straight and everything, and then I'll put this piece in because they will connect together, and that will keep my body lines where they need to be. So, and then I'll fill in the filler piece after that. So that's the game plan. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to finish fitting this piece to go in here and tack it in and make sure I'm going to get my straight edge and make sure it's straight and my body line straight, and that way it'll be set there, and then I can run this piece in and weld it to the inner fender well, and then my filler piece in here will go in last. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish fitting this piece, and then I'll come back and I'll show you this after I get it tacked in and straight, and what I'm going to do after that. So hang with me on it. We're going to get this all welded in and looking pretty here, hopefully before long. So here we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, problems. I went to tack this stuff in and realized that I needed to fix the lower part of that outer wheel well. So I made the piece. I did the things, and I made that. So I got that in. I tacked this in. Body line looks pretty good. I tacked this piece in. Lines up good up here. What did I do with the other piece? Tomorrow, I'm kind of burnt out and aggravated, so tomorrow I'll work this piece. I gotta trim and cut and fit and all that stuff, but I'll get this piece trimmed and fitted in so we can finish that. So tomorrow we'll finish this up and see what that looks like, and we'll get on the bottom of this over here. But yeah, had troubles. My batteries ran out on my lights. I had two of them, two different ones. Both of them went dead. And then I had to fix that up, and that took me 2 pieces to do right here. Yeah, I started the first time and royally screwed that one up, and so I started over, and the second one went much better. As you can tell, it's in. So but that's where we're at. I hope this hadn't been too bad a video for you to watch, because this part right here is really tough for me to make with the little bit of tools that I have. So but I'm getting there. Tomorrow we'll come trim and fit that piece, get it tacked in, get this finished up, ground down, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. It's later in the day. I got a little aggravated, and I know myself. When I get aggravated, it's time to quit. And usually when you quit, leave it alone for a little while. I'll leave it alone till tomorrow, come back, usually everything works a little better. So that's going to be the hope. So stick around till tomorrow. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in a bit. Well, good morning, guys and gals. Got out here this morning, and I got everything trimmed up and fitted in. I went ahead and made this little piece right here. So when we tack all this in, it'll all be in place. So everything's fitting pretty good. Got them sitting there with my magnets holding them in place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the camera up over here. I'm gonna start tacking these in. When I get them tacked in, we'll take a look at it, and I'll probably go ahead and finish welding, grinding, and then come back and show you the finished product. So give me just a second. We're gonna get to putting some tacks on it. So stick around. Alright, well, I got a problem. I made it fit too good, so I got no gap right here. Hope you can see that. I got no gap right here on this edge. So I'm gonna go get my my air saw and see if I can get that gap cut back in there where it needs to be. So give me just a second.
here's what we got. Let me get some light around here. Alright, so I got it all tacked in. I'd say it looks a little better than it did before. So so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cut away from you guys. I'm gonna weld all this in, grind it all down, smooth it all out, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. And then we'll be ready probably at that point to move on to the other part of this. I am so happy this is going a lot better than yesterday. Let me show you a little something. Can you see that right there? Yeah. Everybody needs to remember, when you weld that metal, it's hot. It's very hot. And when you touch it with the skin, yeah, that's what happens. So I did that yesterday. It's part of the reason I was kind of aggravated yesterday, because I burnt the crap out of my arm. Like I said, trials and tribulations of me trying to do metal work. So let me go finish welding all this in. I'll grind it down and I'll be back in a minute. All right, got it all welded in, got it all ground down. Like I always tell you, my stuff's not perfect. But here's the finished product. It's got a little bit of lumpy in it here and there. It'll take a little bit of spot, a little bit of putty to finish it out and get it perfect, but it's solid. It's not rusted anymore. So the inner wheel well is done. All the way down to here is good. Got all this in, and like I said, it's got, I don't know if you can see it in the light, it's got a little dimple right there. It's got a couple of little lumpies in here along my weld line, but little bit of putty, little bit of body work, and it'll be fine. So I think that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Like I asked before, hit that like, subscribe, share, comment, ring the bell, whatever. I'd appreciate it. So but yeah, that'll do it for this video. I try not to make my videos longer than an hour, and I know editing what I had so far, I was like 40 something minutes, 48 minutes or something like that. So, and if you guys want to know, you're going to look at a 50-55 minute video probably. This section that I just did, now think about what I did. Fab this piece, fab this piece, fab this piece in here, fab the inner wheel well, fab this piece down here, cut all that out, cleaned it up, prepped it, did final fitment, and that takes forever. Welded and grounded it all down. Probably a total of about, it's 10 to 12 hours probably for me. I'm not saying I'm fast, and I'm not, but for me that was probably in the neighborhood of 10 hours if you just got on it and doing it. So that's what I'd figure, about 10 hours. So if you want to know, you know, and this was a difficult piece. So now the lower quarter in the back, or the rocker in the front up here, which will be in the next video, that probably won't take, I guesstimate maybe 3 hours, you know, because it just depends on the difficulty in fabricating the piece that you got to fabricate. So yeah, I'm not anywhere near perfect, but
That's kind of like Wabi Sabi. That's finding beauty in imperfection. Nothing I do is perfect. If you want to look at perfect and great patience and metalwork, you need to go look at the guy in Canada, Japan's Customs. It's Make It Custom on YouTube. He builds his own tools, his own equipment. He sells equipment, but he's got tremendous patience, tremendous knowledge, and he's a teaching guy. So if you want to learn something, go watch him. He'll tell you how to do stuff. Now, he's turned a 37 Lincoln Zephyr 4-door into a 2-door, and has made all the panels, and man, that thing looks good, and they turned out nice, and he really knows what he's doing. So if you want to learn something, go watch him. If you want to watch and laugh at somebody with some dumb mistakes and trudging along with bad tools, cheap tools, or whatever, then you come watch me suffer in the pain and agony that I do. So but that's gonna call it for the day, and we'll jump on this rocker next in the next video. But as I always say, hey, keep your head up, don't look down yourself, don't look down on others. Get out there and work on these old rides. Save a part of history. Make yourself happy, make somebody else happy. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for coming back. Hope to see you again. Thanks.